Hey everyone, welcome to episode 0 of Go Tempo. I'm Jad Saba, aka Solar Stance. This is
Your boy Chavo, Yusuf,
and this is Nacho right here, the house cat.
the first guest.
So we want to start out by explaining what is Go Tempo. Go Tempo is a podcast, obviously, as you can see, and the aim is to help up-and-coming artists, just as well as established artists or anyone else who wants these kind of resources, by discussing mental health in the music industry, which is a subject that is not very much broached and is somewhat taboo. Yet a lot of artists have been speaking up about their mental health, whether they're touring or anything else, be it Beast Vincent, Laid Back Loop, or a bunch of others. Now, before going into specifics, the general idea of Go Tempo is to invite each week or each other week an artist who will come and explain their journey, their hardships, what they've been through, because from the outside, when you see an artist performing or having a gig or anything like that, it's very easy to just, to not really understand how they got there. And so we think that it's important to highlight every single step of the process to how they got there, passing through their hardships, what they do in terms of mental health to cope with whatever obstacles they come about.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's a podcast. It's a safe place so we can share like basically any like obstacle you had in your journey, whatever it's whether it's mental or family wise or business wise. It's just correlated to your artist journey, and it's a safe place where you can say anything, whatever you want.
Exactly.
And you can share. And what we will try to do is like basically try to give a few some advice if the paths like are similar to ours, to people we know, to
Exactly.
people who have been through the same things, and maybe try to process and talk about this. Is the most important thing, which is to just get things off your chest.
Yeah.
And it's mostly a place where you can be yourself, and you can, if you guys want to be part of this journey, you can basically send us a message on Instagram, and we'll be happy to program you and have you on this show.
Exactly.
So basically, number 0, we're gonna be most of all talking about
The project itself,
how we had the
ourselves,
idea,
exactly.
who are we,
Yeah.
and how it's
Yeah.
going to be in the future.
Exactly. So moving on to how it came to be. It's no secret that we both have had, mental struggles in our lives. I think everyone who lives, today has. We're all human. And so if I talk about myself personally, about maybe 6 to 8 months ago, had somewhat of a breakdown, a burnout. I had quit my job and I decided to go to a retreat in Spain to do like a detox sort of thing, dopamine detox, blah, blah. And I came back all the better for it because I learned a lot about meditation, yoga, mindfulness, how to cope with stuff. Ever since I was back, I've been reading a lot on Stoicism, Marcus Aurelius' meditations, and a bunch of other stuff. So when I was back and I was doing better, I thought to myself, hey, why not? I'm sure a lot of other people are going through this or something similar on the mental health aspect. So why not start a project where, we talk about that? And so my friend here, Yusuf, I talked to him about it, and he was really, really happy to join me on this project. So we're like partners on it because he also went through some similar stuff. And this is moving on to who we are, because I think it's important to highlight that, is that we talk about it in the music industry because we are both in the music industry.
Yeah, basically we're producers and we're DJs, and we're somewhat like we've been a few years in the underground business, so we would just want to evolve in this kind of business, make friends and make contacts and make stuff.
Yeah.
So it's kind of difficult at first to get a foot in, and that's for me personally. That's for me one of the main aspects that influenced my mental health, because it was difficult for me to actually socialize and everything, and try to show yourself to the world, and have this kind of perfectionist mindset, and so it's a lot of factors that influenced my mind. It's just a sickness like everything else. Your mind is like can be sick, and you have to, and sometimes you just don't notice. And you just go through your processes and your way of working, your way of life, your way of everything, and you just don't notice until someone just points out, or you just have an epiphany.
Exactly. So a bit more about ourselves, since you it's important for you to know a bit more about your hosts, and also how we met. So we were actually childhood friends. We were both living in the United Arab Emirates. We were in middle school there together. Sharjah, exactly. And at the age of, I guess it was 12 or 13. 13, you moved back to Algeria. I was still there. So we kind of lost contact there, but we still had each other on socials whenever, when we made our socials. I personally came back to Paris at 18 years old, alone. I pursued higher education into law. So I did 6-7 years of law. I specialized in digital law. So that's, data privacy, new technologies, all of these things, with a master's in Chicago. But my true passion was always music. That's also why I kind of did a bit of copyright law. My true passion was always music. Now, obviously, you can't just instantly live off music.
I mean,
you kind of you do what you can, but you kind of have to have a side hustle or something like that. And so it was last March. By the way, we're based in Paris. We kind of forgot to mention that. So last March, so that was like about a year ago. Youssef came back to Paris.
So basically moved. I was in the south of France, and I moved to Paris. I'm still pursuing my studies in cinema and audiovisual. So at first I was doing fucking accounting, bro. So I just changed everything. I changed my mindset, because I always liked music, and I was like, why don't I make it my?
But you did sound engineering.
I did.
Yeah, exactly.
I worked sound engineering because I had the chance, and I knew some people in Algeria that made me. That maybe work in the business in a radio station. So when I came to Paris last March or so, I met back with you, and we kind of reconnected after
immediately,
13 years. 13 years, and we like just catching up, and this guy took the same path. He was like making music like me, and he used the same software. He was like into electronic music, and me too. I was like, oh, holy shit! Like after so much time, and we basically talked, and there were some aspects of his life I didn't necessarily know, because when we were young, we didn't ask.
Also we were like 10, man. We were still,
super young, and
a lot of time.
So we kind of gave each other some context.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, we both had like similar problems.
Mm-hmm.
It could be some ways to cope with anxiety or stress, and there are similar reasons. We're not going to go like into deep.
Yeah, maybe later.
Yeah. But we found a similar path.
We're kindred spirits, basically.
Yeah. So music, mental health, and basically we're childhood friends. So it was like. And he's like, why don't we just talk about it to people? And since it's so taboo, why don't we just
let's open a platform, create a safe space? And I feel like jumping on what you said, like it's important to have this kind of community for artists or for anyone who just wants to feel safe. Like everyone lifts each other up. As they say, the high tide rises all boats. It's always in everyone's interest to be empathetic, to lift someone else up, blah, blah. And so diving deeper into how we got into music. You want to go first?
Okay. That was a long time ago. So basically, I'll try to make it quick. I never went to school of music school or whatever, conservatoire or never. But all of my brothers.
That's a prime example, by the way, for anyone watching. Neither of us have ever done any music school, anything like that. Just to let you know, you can, if you want to do it, you can do it.
Yeah, like so basically, my brother and two of my older sisters have done like classical, academic, learning in it was in Algiers and in Dubai and Sharjah, So they knew the academic stuff, and I was like, I'm so interested. Yeah. And they never taught me because they never had time, because they were super older than me. They're working and stuff. So I had a big, huge Casio old synthesizer, like super old. It was practically like a digital one, so it's not crazy. And I was just, messing around. That's when I had an interest. And when I started to grow up, I was like experimenting at the same time. It wasn't my passion. It was just like a pastime. Yeah. And then I had my first iPad, and I downloaded an application which was like a DAW. Yeah. Like a DAW. Yeah. And I used my brother's credit card.
Without him knowing? You're just like, okay.
When he checked the receipt, he was like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? It was like $14, like...
I guess it's not bad.
2000.
Like, you look, it's like $500
bucks.
Like,
what the fuck did you do? It was like, bro...
Yeah, so, you gotta do what you gotta do.
So it wasn't like shit application. So you could just layer instruments, and I didn't know you could layer instruments. Yeah. Like I was just you do melodies on top of each other. And that's you could actually layer and control volumes and stuff. Yeah. So that's the first thing. And then I went through. I did classical music, and then I went to FL Studio. So I cracked my first DAW. Sorry,
I don't know if you're supposed to say that.
I'm sorry. But I started to learn on YouTube.
Just like everyone.
I started to learn on YouTube, and one of my first influences was deadmau5.
Yeah, oh my god, I still remember Strobe. I think it's to this day, it's still one of my favorite songs out there.
deadmau5, bro, was like one of my, like, he was super hot in 2008, 2009. He was like, he was like on top. And he was like super working with FL, I think.
He was on FL Studio?
He was like, I don't know, but I'm not sure.
Thing is, I think he used many DAWs, because he would like sound design on one, and then he would arrange on another. He would like I remember watching one video where it was crazy, this guy.
Anyways, he was like super into it, and he was like the thing back then. So I was like really inspired by him. But so I started FL, then I started with trap music, rap music, and then I started experimenting with time, and I was learning by myself with...
Bring this guy here.
Come on.
Blocking the view.
Sorry. You're just blocking the camera, bro.
Come here, baby. Yeah. All right,
Just blocking the camera. So I started experimenting with a lot of types of music before doing actually super electronic, what I do now, which is breakbeat and techno and house and stuff. So in this time, the producing and the way of learning was... I didn't even notice, but it was a way to cope with a way to cope
catharsis
with a lot of stuff that was happening in my life. A way to cope. I won't go into detail now, but it was a way to... What's up with you?
He's gonna go.
Okay, he's going there. So it was a way to cope for a lot of stuff that's been happening in my life, and I didn't notice because I was so into it. And eventually eventually I changed DAWs, and I started to meet people. Yeah. So I was actually sharing with like people that had the same interests that were around me, and people who were interested, I started to show them, and we started exchanging them. But that thing came like, I think 6 years ago. Yeah. And now, well, I'm with you, and we're trying to emancipate and find ourselves, and
exactly.
We're trying to find like where we want to be in this industry. And nowadays, I just do like electronic music, basically for DJing.
Yeah, that's awesome. For my path, when it comes to my path, so I remember I went to my first real concert. Real nightlife concert. It was Swedish House Mafia, and it was the last concert before they break up. So what is it? Sebastian Grosso, Axwell, and I forgot the other guy, the third guy. Anyways, it's these three guys. They are Swedish House Mafia. For those of you who don't know Swedish House Mafia, you probably know the "Don't You Worry, Don't You Worry, Child." You know, everyone knows that song. And it was their last concert before they split up. And it was happening.
When was it?
This was in 2012? 11,
okay.
10? I don't know, something like that. I remember going there, and they went all out. It was extravagant because, it's their last concert, so, the fire coming out. They had a place with, music video people from their music video Greyhound, on the costumes. Just crazy stuff. And I remember the feeling I got, the chills, just everything. I was like, oh my God. Now, obviously, I'm not into that kind of EDM now, but I remember that's when I came out of there. I was with my buddy, and I came out of there, and I said, I need to start making music. That was just amazing. So I went home. And I remember I just Googled, what program do you use? I didn't even know where to start. But the first thing that came up was FL Studio. I didn't even look into other DAWs or just kind of a noob looking at stuff. So I was like, okay, FL Studio, and you could download the trial version. You just couldn't save a project at first. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that. So I did that, and then like everyone, when you start, you just click random buttons, and you're just kind of a bit frustrated. But you kind of navigate it. And then I started watching YouTube. And then it started becoming a habit where when I would come home from school, instead of, going and playing, eating and playing Call of Duty for a bit or whatever, I would just throw my bag and I want to go test stuff out on this new DAW, new program. And it was so primitive, my production skills at that point, that I didn't even, how you have to, in FL Studio, unlike other DAWs, you have to link
link the mixer with
the mixer to the channel. I didn't even do that. I didn't even know. I didn't know. I was just layering stuff with just raw. I didn't even know you could put stuff. Reverb, compression. I didn't know any of that. So slowly, I started watching YouTube videos. But this is what's important, by the way, because he also mentioned that is when you learn from YouTube, and we all know there's a bunch of information out there when it comes to music production
now, but back then
even back then it was it's YouTube, but sure way more now. But what I mean to say is, the conclusion of what I'm trying to say is, the order in which you consume the videos is important, and the algorithm chooses for you. So I was learning about one thing, and then the other I didn't know anything about what this does, and it's important to learn that way. So anyways, I had started to produce back then, produced for maybe 2 years, but it was very primitive stuff, blah blah. And then I remember I had my I had Boot Camp on Mac, so it's the Windows partition on Mac, and then I had updated my Mac because I really needed to use Pages, and it had to update. I lost everything because it just corrupted the system. I got so pissed that I just quit everything. I was just like, I don't want to do it. And then a couple of years later, I was in Croatia with two, Andrew and Ronnie, exactly, and Tayyab, and we went to this festival called Hideout Festival. And the music was phenomenal. Obviously, it wasn't EDM. It was at this point house, tech house, that kind of stuff. A lot of that kind of stuff, and big artists like Archie Hamilton, there's that Camel Fat, blah blah. So I remember coming back from that festival and thinking, "Ooh, I'm really back into music." But instead of going back into producing, I bought the small DJ SB3, and I was like, "I'm gonna start mixing." So I started, becoming a bedroom DJ, blah blah, mixing, and then I was like, "Hey, I kind of want to get back into production." And I basically re-downloaded FL Studio. I spent a lot of time on that, and then when I felt like I was a bit more advanced, I started taking these lessons with Beatworks. This artist called Ishan was helping me a lot, and then he talked to me about Ableton. I always knew Ableton. A lot of people use Ableton, and I was always scared to make the switch. And then the day when I finally did make that switch was when I joined Cosmic Academy. So for all of you who don't know, it's an amazing, producing school that you do online, and it's really serious. So that was when really it went serious. It was because, contrary to YouTube where you just, watch here and there some stuff, it was a real boot camp program with, how to finish a song, the song arrangements, how to do sound design, how to mix, a bit of mastering, low-end mixing, just a bunch of stuff. And so switching to Ableton, and it's a process. It's something where you just got to put in the hours, and so now I relatively feel like I'm at a good level, but that doesn't really mean anything, because you always if I listen to my stuff from 1 year ago, I'm like, oh, this is shit. Probably 2 years from now, I'm gonna listen to what I'm doing now, I'm like, God, this was shit.
You're always learning, actually.
Exactly. So I did get my first releases, just like you. I did my first EP with Tallboy Records, and then I released something on Doodoo Records, which is a label here in Paris, and now I'm in contact with 2 other labels here in Paris. But so it's, the ball is rolling. Yeah. And it's not without hardships. There were moments, and I think it's important to emphasize this because we both felt
because it's fun to say produce, DJ,
exactly. But there's times where you feel like you're a shit producer. There's times where you feel like, oh my god. There's times where you're gonna compare yourself to someone else's step 8, and you're at your step 2, and you're thinking, what the fuck? And that's what you really can't do. You compare yourself to yourself, but it's important not. And that's the whole point of inviting these artists that we're gonna invite. And that's why we're highlighting it ourselves, because we're in a certain sense artists ourselves, is to be able to see beyond. Like, you see someone playing at a gig, or oh wow, how is he getting that? You don't see all the 105 rejections he got before the 106th yes for something, right? You don't see, or she, you don't see all of that. And so it's important to see what's behind the scenes in terms of how people get to where they get. Now, we're not big, quote unquote.
No.
But we will have very big artists, or, semi-big artists here who will talk about their journey. And this is for anyone who's trying to start making music. First of all, we are both perfect examples of you don't need to know music theory or go to music school or anything like that. You can just start, especially with, where in the beginning of the year 2000, the beginning of the 2000s, to make a hit song, you would need a $100,000 studio like Beyonce, I don't know who. Yeah. Today, songs with billions of views have been made in a basement on a laptop with a pair of headphones.
Yeah, you just need, bedroom producer can do
Yeah,
anything.
exactly. You just need the discipline and the consistency, that's all.
Consistency, and just you need to know how to represent your art and your creation, whatever it is. It shouldn't, there's no barrier to what you can do and what you want to do. So just as long as you have a message, as long as it's fun, as long as it's, as long as it's special, as long as it's you, it's good. Just do it, because you learn. Oh, I was shit at that, so I need to improve this. I was shit at this. So every year you'll gain something. You don't see it, you don't write it, you can't necessarily have a track of it, but you'll learn that with time you'll be, I won't say better, just say,
well, it is better in a certain sense.
Just say you're gonna learn more. Because
look, I want to highlight what you're saying right now. It is interesting because it is semantics in a certain sense. It's that music is subjective, right? Everyone has a different taste. Now, that's one thing. When we talk about good music, there's a difference between good music and quality sounding music. Because, for example, I don't like, reggaeton or dubstep or whatever it is. But if you show me a song, I could tell you with certainty, this is a quality sounding song. I may not like it, may not be my taste, but this is professional sounding. This is industry standard. So in that sense, you do get better. That's what I mean. It's
for my case, where I learned the professional standard and this quality standard, I learned it at work. I didn't know it before because I went into work with a few I just knew how to use FL Studio, so I just knew how to layer samples, create some music. I just knew how to create stuff, but very roughly. So I got into that work, and it's actually professional. It's products for it's made for radio broadcast and for actual clients for advertisements. So I had to learn that there is a certain standard that you need to respect. It's just quality wise. So like you said, it's subjective, but there is a quality aspect that everyone can see and feel, and it's just good for your ears.
Two things I want to jump off of from what you're saying. The first one is ego. we all when we're starting out, or maybe not right when we're starting out, but at some point we kind of get overly excited or something, and we're like, oh, this sounds amazing, I want to submit this, and I don't know what, and we kind of get shot down because we always love what we make in a certain sense. We think it's amazing, but then a year later when you re-listen, you're like, oof, what the hell? So pride has to be taken out of the equation. It takes time. It takes a lot of time to, production. If you think about it, you're in a whole orchestra. In front of the music, you are the whole orchestra. You're programming depends what music you're making, but, of course, if you're making ambient music, maybe there's not even drums. But what I mean is, you are taking care of so many different things. Something that before it wasn't just one person doing, right?
it's just
and then you're also mixing it, and then you're also, so this takes time.
super complicated.
Exactly,
like,
it's complicated. It takes time, and this is in part why Go Tempo is important. Putting aside the mental health aspect, even though it does play in it, is that since it takes time and patience, if your passion really is there and you do continue, and you will have these moments where you have doubts. You will have these moments where you don't believe in yourself too much because the process is so long. This could affect your mental health. This is why, this is why it's important to highlight how people got to where they got, because you only see the successes, but you don't see all the hardships before.
Yeah, for me, for example, it was a lot of comparing myself to like pretty established people, pretty known people, pretty like new people. Like it was like, oh, I'm so far away. How am I going to do? Like, and I think I have this theory that when I had nothing, I had just a laptop, headphones. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even have had a sound card. I was just so creative.
Very recently. Yeah.
I was so creative, and like my CPU was gonna burn.
I know those struggles.
I was doing so many
crackling noises and stuff.
So many complicated projects with layering and stuff, and automation. It was like crazy going in my head. It was like I'm trying to reach something. It was like full creative. Because I didn't have the process of making a song or a track, because I was just like
it's a tricky process,
and it's when it goes all over the place, it's good, but it's not. It wasn't quality wise. Like great.
And that's the thing. That the second thing I wanted to say was when it comes to getting there in terms of quality, there's an amount of time you got to put in. And there's nothing in the world that will change that, because I see a lot of, we were talking about that the other day when I was scrolling and I saw on Instagram that ad of that super pro sound engineer who's giving his most secret tips on how to, mix a song that's going to make it sound amazing. And I don't know what. Okay, sure. No. It was, I forgot his name, but it was, anyways, he does do some mix downs or mastering for big artists, but that's not the point. He's just trying to, make money or so, maybe help people. But the thing is, you're gonna have to train your ears no matter what. You're gonna have to go through the process, and no amount of equipment or master classes or whatever is gonna help in that regard if you don't put in the time. So let's take an example. This guy who's selling his course, saying he's got these crazy secrets. There's no one on this earth that can make you in 2 days really good at mixing and mastering. You need to put in the time. Just like if I were to tell you, you want to play basketball, you want to know how to do layups and shoot hoops and shoot 3-pointers, right? And so you have master class.
Michael Jordan.
Yeah, Michael Jordan, LeBron James. Let's throw Kobe in there if you're still alive. Rest in peace. These three amazing players. They're gonna do an A to Z master class on every single thing they know, and you watch it and you study it and you take notes and you're like, okay, amazing. And then you go to the court and what happens? You suck. you suck because these people have shown you their knowledge, but you didn't go and shoot hoops. You didn't go to train.
Oh, 1 sec.
Yeah. So sorry, little technical issue there with the camera, but I was talking about the master classes with LeBron James and all these crazy basketball players, amazing basketball players, and that no matter how good of a master class it is and how much knowledge there is in there, and you watch it and you study it, if you don't go train, the day you want to go to the court and shoot three pointers or layups or whatever, you're gonna suck. And so it's the same thing with when you're starting out and you think, oh, if only I had this equipment or that equipment or this master class. Sure, it helps, but you need to put in the time. You need to put in the effort and the time. That's how you get better. Even with mixing, it's literally training your ears, And so that's important. It's important to put in the time. And it's important to tell yourself, listen, if your goal is, for example, to play at, I don't know, Coachella next year, and you're doing an hour per week, gotta break it to you, bad news, you're probably not gonna play in Coachella. You gotta it's how much time you put in and how consistent you are that's gonna get you towards your goals and blah blah, etc.
And the other aspect of this is actually coping and having a healthy mental aspect, and try to cope and try to work on yourself and don't be hard on yourself. Like me, I was hard on myself. To be honest,
it's really hard.
To be
It's,
honest, I was like super hard on myself, but I wanted to stop. But a few moments, I was like, "This is not made for me. I suck." And
also, it's normal sometimes to want to take a break, 1-2 week. I don't know how much time
Yeah,
break, but
yeah.
like have a small burnout or whatever. It's totally fine.
like
to-
now, I
to-
do this. Like when it's too much, when I'm
Yeah.
like I have so many. When I try to when I have so many things that happen at the same time with my projects, I just be like, okay, take a
Yeah.
break. When I have an idea, I'll just come back to the project, and it's much better for me. I don't know about you, but
Definitely.
it's good to do a little introspective.
Introspection, yeah.
Introspection. I was like
Okay.
introspective, like in French.
Yeah, introspection. Yeah, yeah.
Introspection to yourself and try to,
100%. I'm gonna bounce off of that to talk about ever since my breakdown or burnout or whatever you want to call it, and that retreat and that censure, especially since the beginning of 2024. The things I do, because we all have shit days. It's not always happy days, and the things I do that have helped me. Obviously, you're going to hear some very cliche and repeated stuff, but they are true, which is, for example, regularly working out because, it releases endorphins, etc. And meditation is one big thing that I've really gotten into, whether it's solo meditation or group meditation somewhere in Paris, or sometimes I even do group meditation just outside and anyone can join me. But it's really important because meditation is just the act. I always had this vague idea of what meditation was, and I think it's important to clear that up because it's extremely simple. When you actually think about it, it's not just it's you just sit in a comfortable position. You can or cannot, as you wish, close your eyes, and you focus on, let's say, your breath. So in, out, and your mind will naturally go astray, right? You're going to have some thoughts. That's totally normal. And you shouldn't judge those thoughts or judge yourself. You should just observe them, be like, oh, I started thinking about what I'm going to eat later tonight, or that thing that happened 2 years ago. And as soon as you've taken consciousness of the fact that your thoughts, you kind of went away, you gently bring it back to your breath, in, out, in, out. It's about staying in the present. And just like muscles in a gym or anything, you can strengthen it. And just like, muscles in a gym, it's like a balloon. When you take a balloon and you blow in the balloon, the first couple of blows is when it, exponentially expands. And then the more you go, the harder it is. Well, just like in the gym, when someone who's never done bodybuilding starts for 2 months, that's when he's going to see the most growth. And then it's, you start hitting a plateau and you got to, do more. Well, it's the same thing for meditation. If you find it hard in the beginning to stay focused on the present, good. That means there's a lot of potential there. And just like your bicep with doing, bicep curls, it's literally strengthening your prefrontal cortex and a bunch of other stuff. It helps you stay mindful and present. Now, why is that important? And because I've been reading a lot about Stoicism, whether it's Marcus Aurelius or Seneca or Epictetus, I think it was Seneca who said, we suffer more in our imagination than in reality. And this I find to be really true. If you really come to think of it, there is no past or future, right? These are constructs of our consciousness, right? If the past is a memory, you're thinking of something that happened, and the future is a fantasy, you're thinking of something that may happen. Right now is the only thing that is happening. So when you're worrying or you have anxiety, and this is either easier said than done, I'm still struggling with it. Everyone's still struggling with it, unless you're like a Shaolin, monk in the mountains in China or something. It's hard. You're sometimes a prisoner of your own mind, and that's what he means by we suffer more in our imagination than in reality, because we suffer, for example, for outcomes that may or may not happen or stuff like that. And it's important to stay in the present. That's where meditation comes in, and things you can't control, you shouldn't
be hard on yourself.
So like, for example, if we take music, right, you are putting in the time, and the effort on whether it's in the music production, whether it's on your social media to put your music out there, because it is important to know you can make the best song ever. If you can't get it heard, it's for nothing. Well, not for nothing, but like
nothing.
You won't get successful with it if that's your goal. Obviously, it's still good you're making music, and we have different goals of why we're making music. But that being said, it is important to manage what you can and can't control. because if you are putting in the time, if you are doing all these things, there are some stuff that are going to be out of your control, and worrying about these things isn't going to help anything, right? It's
I think that the people will have different ways of going out to actually resolve or get their if it's anxiety, if it's stress, if it's any mental problem that they are having with their like, people have different ways to cope with it.
That's exactly why the inviting artists is important for us, is because we're going to see all these different artists and all their different ways of coping, and hopefully you can, it could teach or learn. We're all going to learn something from that.
But I'm sure, like 1,000%, that everyone has at least one similar point with another person. It's always a pattern that repeats itself, because we're human, we're all the same. There's always the same pattern that repeats itself, and there's not many ways to cope with that kind of pattern. So you say it's like working out. Yes, it boosts your brain like crazy, and reading, it boosts your brain like crazy, and actually learning, it just makes you more productive, and being more productive makes you more creative. Being more creative makes you a better artist, from my perspective. And if you'll be able to put on much I wouldn't say complicated, I'd say like complex maybe work, and you'll try to get out of your comfort zone.
That's
and
where it's important.
Yeah, get out of your comfort zone. You'll be trying things, and you won't be hard on yourself, because you're in that perspective of discovery, and not necessarily being hard on yourself, just being creative. Being creative is like super important, even if it sucks. You didn't find what you wanted to do, but there's always happy accidents when you try to be creative.
But Picasso said, that's one of my favorite quotes from him: inspiration exists, but it has to find you working. Yeah. And I remember there was one day I was like trying to make this track that I had to make because I had a due date. I had to send it to someone. And the more pressure you have, the harder it is, And I was thinking, oh man, this is like the second hour and I'm just not finding anything. This is shit. And I thought of that code, and I'm like, I'm going to continue one more hour. Just one more hour. And if it doesn't work out, it's fine. I'll go eat something. I'll do something else. It's in that third hour I found a kick-ass melody. And then that melody gave birth to a lot of other things.
There's a lot of contributing factors that can be good for you. For me, when I'm in pressure, I work better. Yeah. I don't know why, but if I have deadlines and I have something to do, and
I feel like that applies for me, but not in music.
But
in music, that it depends. It depends.
If I pressure myself, not too much, not like super pressuring myself to being anxious or stressed.
That's what I mean by it depends, because when it's too much, then
when it's how do you say encadré?
Like when it's within boundaries.
Yeah, when it's within boundaries. When I pressure myself to do something, most of the time I do it. Sometimes I don't. So I just
you weren't here yet, but there was a plan with our whole group, all these all these people, and I was working quite a lot at Accenture back then as a consultant, so I was super busy, and this label, Do Records, wanted me to do a remix of one of their artist songs. And I remember I had just started, but I hadn't finished it at all, and the due date was on Sunday. And I remember on Friday night I told the friends, like, listen, I can't do anything, and I just locked myself in from Friday till Sunday afternoon. And I remember a lot of the time I was like, man, I'd delete stuff, I'd remake other stuff, I'd be like, this is going nowhere, I'm going crazy. But by Sunday noon, I had something really good. Well, at least what I thought was really good. And by that time, I didn't even know if it was really good, because I've listened so much. I've been just locked in the studio, just making that. I sent it scared, kind of biting my nose, like, oh, what are they going to think? I got 3 hours later an amazing response. Them saying they love it, don't change it.
I think there's it's a theory that when you have a deadline, you always waste time that
was in school as well. That was all the time, man. It's
basically you've got 3 parts of your time, your deadline. So you have the part where you waste time, the part where you're really like, oh my god,
you start panicking,
and the last part you'd be like fucking robot, like a fucking
exactly.
fuck this. this part is actually cool because your brain, I don't know for you, but for me, it's like it's super boosted. Like I'm in turbo mode, and when you arrive at your deadline, you'd be like, okay, I don't actually need this.
Coffee helps.
Yeah,
Coffee helps.
You just put away the things you don't necessarily need. So your actual feeling of perfectionism is off the table.
Yeah, 100%. Because you know that it was the Zach Edward from Cosmic Academy who had said this, and it always stuck with me. He said, it's when it comes to perfectionism and finishing songs, etc. It's not bullshit what they say about you never truly finish a song. You just know when to quit. You know, like when is a song truly finished? You can always, be like, I can do that. I can add this. I can do that.
It can go forever.
Yeah, there's a point where you just gotta say, all right,
stop.
This is it.
Stop. This is done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So this last part of like pressure. What do we call it? Pressure.
Yeah, it's pressure. It's pressure. It's the Call of Duty. It's that.
It's just the last minute pressure works for me. I don't know if it will work for other people, but it sometimes works for me. And it's just because at the last moments of the deadline, I fix to myself, or is fixed by people. It's like even worse. If it's fixed by people, I just condition myself to make a good product, and my brain actually does it, and it actually just focuses on what's important, what's objectively good, objectively quality, and this is good. But it's not. It doesn't apply to every aspect of your life.
Of course.
It just applies to a few projects you do.
And just in general, this is kind of going back on Stoicism, because sure, I was talking about philosophy. I personally love philosophy. Whether it was in high school, and then also during the first 2 years of law, it was before even any kind of specialization, it was mandatory to do philosophy of law and antiquity, like ancient Greece, ancient Rome, all this stuff. Anyways. So now, since I was reading Stoicism, and we make static posts, right? Besides these podcast reels or videos or whatever on Instagram, we have static posts that help artists, like things, principles or things to keep in mind, or what can help, or the fear of failure, blah blah. And the other day, I was making a post on Stoicism, just an introduction to Stoicism. But the thing is, philosophy shouldn't just be thought of as something very abstract, because the point was and is to actually be able to apply it to your life, to better your life, more happiness, more success, more whatever. And so when it came to Stoicism with the principles, whether it was Marcus Aurelius, who was a Roman emperor, and he was a man who was the emperor of the most powerful empire to this day on this earth. So can you imagine someone with that much power taking the time at night to write down in his notebook how he felt, what he would do to stay on track, or blah blah. And we have this. We have these writings. It's in meditations. So in the post, it's these principles, but with practical uses in your music career, and that's what's important. It's to relate, so that it's not so abstract anymore. You can actually use it for your own.
It's basically what you're trying to say is actually create processes and a protocol, somewhat of a protocol. I wouldn't say protocol because it's too corporate.
No, but it is. It's a process. It's a process, a protocol, a routine.
It's just a succession of steps that make you closer to your objective. And if they don't take you to your final objective, because your objective will always be, you'll always have like an objective for tomorrow, and as soon as you have it, you'll have another.
And it's important to know, like talking about objectives, to know, like we're talking about objectives and how to reach them, but you got to know your objective first, right? Generally, but also more specifically. Okay, you want to do music, but do you have objectives beyond that? Do you want to become good music? Do you want to just have this as a hobby? Do you have actual objectives, whether it's tomorrow, in 1 week, in a year, in 5 years,
it's good
in 10
to
years?
Fix yourself small wins, small successes, small objectives.
Just as much as big milestones, small milestones, divide them. Because you got to write them down. You got to know them.
If you fix yourself, I want to play in front of 1 million people. There are multiple.
Yeah, that's... hey, I want to become a billionaire. Okay, well, it's...
First, you got to make your first dollar. First, you got to make your business. Then you got to make your contacts. Then you got to...
But it's good to aim high. It's really good to aim high. But
just put it...
But, put that. But then in between, you got to have step. Okay, how do I get there?
Micro steps.
Concrete micro steps. How about an hour, half an hour a day spent making music?
Yeah.
How about an hour, half an hour every other day, or every 3 days making an Instagram post?
And I think
know?
this applies to more than just your creativity. Or
This
music.
applies to everything.
Everything.
This is everything.
So if you just
Because this is discipline. You know, there's motivation, which is fleeting, and then there's discipline.
creativity is like all over the place. You can be creative and be chaotic.
Yeah.
It can be good, but
That
it can be
that
bad.
reminds me of a point of, and that's a lot. I remember when we were watching, you know, on Netflix or whatever, they have cercle shows. Or, I don't remember. Was it on Netflix? Anyways, my friend put, it was in the old apartment. He put on TV cercle show, right?
Cercle show.
Yeah, like cercle, you know, cercle. How they have an artist playing some random.
Oh yeah,
place.
okay.
And I was doing something else. I was just, you know, I was just listening. And at the end of it, they weren't showing the music anymore. They were showing a guy with the mic interviewing the artist. And one thing they asked the artist at the end of whatever he was saying was, if do you have anything to say to up and coming artists or future producers or whatever? And he just looks at the camera and he goes, finish your tracks, finish your tracks, finish your tracks.
Yeah.
And I remember I was at that point where I was just starting, and I felt like it was aiming it at me. I was like, fuck. Yeah, exactly. I was like, shit, he does have a point, you know, starting an 8-bar loop, a 16-bar loop, but never finishing the track. And why am I saying this is because you just mentioned creativity is all over the place.
Yeah,
that's why it's even more like you shouldn't restrict yourself creatively in terms of it is a canvas, a blank canvas. Do whatever you want, and throw the paint. Dude, there's no rules in a certain sense except for some technical stuff. There's no rules, but you do have to take that process to completion. No one is gonna like, you know, all like those gigabytes of music sitting on a hard drives. Who's gonna listen to that? No one's gonna listen. No one's saying, "Oh, like, did you hear, you know, Jad's amazing, you know, tracks on his
hidden track?" Yeah, it's on his house drive.
You gotta finish your tracks, and this is Cosmic that taught me this. It's by finishing your tracks that you get good at the whole process. Because let's say you keep doing 60% of the process, and you never get to that last 40, or the last 10. You do 90%, but you never get to the last 10. So you're not getting good at the whole thing. You know.
I want to jump in and give some insight about this. So it's good to discipline yourself. It's good to set yourself goals. It's good to try to get a hold of what you're trying to do and create in your creative way. But it's also good to communicate. So people can give you insight and a third person perspective on your shit. Because you can't just have a third person perspective on your shit. It's good also to extrapolate and have people, your friends, the artists, some local artists, the people you know, your family, whatever. It's good to have some insight on what you're trying to do. And what I didn't have when I was younger and trying to make tracks. What's up,
buddy?
Is constructive criticism.
Yes, definitely.
I did not have any constructive criticism.
Why, you're just like telling people it's shit?
No,
That's it?
I mean,
are you getting that?
Either people would like it,
yeah,
and me, I wasn't too critic about, because I didn't know much about music. I didn't know much technical stuff, so I couldn't say anything specially. But I didn't have people. I had just had people who were like, okay, this is great. Yeah. Okay, this is bad. Nothing in between, nothing, no analysis, because I didn't speak to the right people, or I didn't have the right contacts, or I didn't have the right environment. So it's good to surround yourself with people that want to contribute to your evolution. So at a certain point, I met these people, and at a certain point, I was like, okay, I actually need this kind of stuff to actually involve and control of my all of my chaos. The point is, communication and I wouldn't say you can do everything by yourself. 100%. You can do everything by yourself 100%, but it's always good.
It's with people that you get super far.
It's always good. People help. People give their opinions. People support. People give the word out that you're doing something. People like your stuff. People share. You can't do everything by yourself. You can't you can't just grab your CDJs and go to a venue and just play by your, if you like, just do it.
This book I was reading called Give and Take. It's how to become successful by helping others, and it's all about it's fine. He's just in the corner, I guess. Whatever. He's a guest star, but it's all about how helping others actually can drive your own success, and it's true because. A lot of people think it's a zero sum game, right? Oh, if this guy's winning, then I'm losing, right? This isn't law school or medical school where one guy it's a curve or whatever.
No.
This is also where it's kind of toxic in the music industry, is the lack of help or the lack of brotherhood, sisterhood, this community. Because help it, listen, lifting someone else up
will automatically lift you.
Will never bring you down.
It will lift you up.
It will either lift you up or nothing, but you're never losing by doing it.
Yeah.
And the contrary, so I had seen this Instagram post where someone was showing a video, screen video, screen recording of his DAW. It was FL Studio, and he made some dubstep kind of stuff. Now, it wasn't my kind of music, but I just saw it. And I remember one comment saying, wow, this is super shit music. And it took a lot of time for this guy to make this song, right? To make this track. And I remember him commenting, "Wow, man, why would you say that?" And I thought to myself,
just free.
That's true. You're just shitting on the guy for either don't say anything or say something positive. But thank God we have different types of music. Imagine it was all the same kind of music. Thank God there's stuff I don't like and stuff I like, because that's the whole beauty of art and stuff like this. So going back to the point being. Being nice will get you far. Being supportive will get you far. You should never also, and I used to sometimes do that, it could sometimes be subconsciously your own insecurities being projected on, maybe it's not even consciously, but subconsciously you think, is this guy going to get ahead of me if I help him or something like that,
this concept of secrecy,
I kind of want to gatekeep this thing, but that's this
it's not the beauty of it.
That's kind of in some way projecting insecurities or whatever. It's and I for one will say I used to do that, and maybe sometimes I still do, but it's important that I'm able to do mentalization, to take a step back and think, okay, whoa, is this why am I doing this, or why am I thinking like this? And this is just in a lot of beyond music, just in life. If I, for example, see a message that I kind of interpreted wrong, or it kind of pissed me off, and I always have to take a second and back away, just zoom out and be like, okay, wait. Did this person really mean this, or am I projecting whatever is inside me on this message and interpreting it? A lot of times I'm the one interpreting it in the wrong way or projecting whatever. So the point being here is that it never brings you down to help others.
No.
And
actually, it feels good.
It feels good. You actually foster a sense of community. People will remember and look up to you, and
for anything.
Exactly. And if you look at a movie, for example, sure, you see the actors, right? You see Leonardo DiCaprio, you see Christian Bale, I don't know what, and maybe you also know the names of the movie directors, right? Ridley Scott and Tarantino, blah blah. You know how many people work on a movie? You know how many people are involved in a set? In the makeup, in the thing, in the VFX, in the blah and the blah. When you actually pay attention, we all know it's kind of we don't even see it anymore because we're so used to it. But when you finish a movie and you see the credits rolling,
it's everyone.
Pay attention to how many names are on there, even if it's a short movie or just an episode of a show. Just it's mind blowing how many people work on that project, right?
Everyone has his place, because if someone misses if someone's not
it's
in place,
exactly.
Everything's gonna go to shit.
And so it's easy to think. Also, when you see the mouse up on stage, or just like when you watch the movie, the actors and the movie director, it's not just them. You gotta know it's everyone. So when you're gonna go to a gig or a show or something like that, you gotta be nice to the bartender, to the bouncer, to the guy who's holding the door, whoever. Everyone is involved, and a lot of times this is the backbone of the whole thing. It's
and there's a dark side of this kind of thing, because the world of let's say of the night. Of the clubbing, nightlife, and it's kind of can become super dark. People can have different perspective, different ways of dealing with people, because there are many things that are involved. Most of them are drugs and alcohol, and people are just on another, how do you say? state of mind.
Yeah.
So there's a bad perspective of the nightlife, and there's a good one.
Yeah.
So personally, I've seen the bad side. You too.
I've seen the bad side.
You've seen the bad. I've seen the bad side, but we've seen the good side as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And like for me, in my opinion, that the good side always, like takes over the bad side, because there aren't all bad. There aren't like all bad situations, bad people, bad managers, bad whatever. There's always good people that you have to actually like find and stick to them and work together. If you have to work, just work together. If you don't, just communicate and just share stuff. Knowledge is free. If you have the time, just try to make yourself a network of people, and to do that, you need to communicate.
And this takes time, right? We're talking about it, but it's not overnight. It's not overnight, and it takes time. And at the end of the day, people will see the way you are and the way you deal with things and the way you interact, blah, blah, when you put yourself out there. And like you're saying, there is a dark side. You will encounter a lot of assholes also,
Yeah, especially when it comes to money, when it comes to organization, pressure, like... Not all people are bad. It's just the factors that contribute to the whole thing makes people that way.
And also, I, for example, so I've been besides like New Year's and a day here or two when I went out for drinks, like I've been sober since September, right? Since that thing, the Spain thing. And I remember one thing that really, and this is just for the people who think it's impossible to be a sober person when you go out or even when you're DJing or whatever. First of all, you should be sober when you're DJing. Maybe you could have a beer, but like if you're being paid, for a professional gig, then you're working. But that aside, I mean, obviously sometimes I have a beer or whatever to loosen up, but you shouldn't like get super wasted and then go play that. It's different work ethics, I guess. But I'm just stating what I do.
Yeah,
what
sure.
I believe.
Like it's
Now, in terms of
understandable.
Yeah. Now, in terms of the whole being sober thing, John Digweed is someone I look up to a lot. He's like a legend in the industry. And this guy, I didn't know this, but this guy is not one drop of alcohol, not 1 ounce of drugs, nothing. He's just fucking sober. I think his brother as well. And I remember thinking, okay, well, wow, if this guy, and he was playing at Stereo in Montreal. I had missed that. I really wanted to go that. I ended up seeing Danny Teneglias. But I remember Roni telling me, you need to come to Montreal for Stereo. Like John Digweed is playing at Stereo, and Stereo has the best sound system in the world. I remember, by the way, going there and like I thought that would have been an understatement. And when I got there, I was like, wow, this is not I've never in my life felt something like, and I say felt, not heard, because the sub, like I was just like, this is not normal, because there's no crack, there's nothing.
Super crisp.
Wow. Anyways, I digress. The whole point being that there are, whether you want to or not, that is, up to you, and there's no judgment involved here. And like we said, this is a safe space, blah, blah. And we've both been through very different things. So trust me, we
this is for another time. Like we have time, we have plenty more of episodes.
Exactly. But just to say that it's totally possible, and so I think we're gonna end off the episode here. We kind of did a circle. A few things to mention. The first one being, so this episode is in English. We're trilingual, quadrilingual, a tiny bit with Spanish, but so French, English, Arabic. We're based in Paris. A lot of our artists are French or French speaking, let's say. So sometimes they will be more comfortable
in French,
talking in French, speaking French. So we'll have the subtitles in English, and whenever we speak in English, we'll have the subtitles in French, because we know that a lot of our viewer base is based here in Paris. But this does aim the whole world, hopefully this grows.
Yeah, it depends on the artist. So basically, whichever language they feel comfortable with, we're gonna try and make it accommodate and happen. And we'll always subtitle for English people, English speaking people who don't understand French, and the other way around as well. So we're gonna have one of my good friends. And
so Eva Jane for episode 1.
So she's one of my pupils. One of my
don't say too much, keep the cliffhanger.
Okay, she's a DJ.
Yeah,
she's a DJ. She's French American.
Yeah,
and and she's from the south of France.
Okay. And the rest, tune in to episode 1 for it. So if any of this resonated with you, whether it's the mental health aspect, the music aspect, or anything else, feel free to follow us on our socials, subscribe on YouTube, or follow us on Instagram.
Send us a message.
Yeah, we're always happy to hear from anyone receiving a message or leave a comment about what you think. Or we really want to try to create and foster this community, the sense of community and a safe space for, you know, artists helping each other out, because while a lot of people resonate with this because we're all human and we all go through, you know, these mental hurdles. And this is what it's all about. It's about being able to
reaching out and communicating and giving a good atmosphere. Just if you want to connect.
My vision or dream is that one day someone could reach out and be like, "Hey, I'm feeling like shit. I do this and blah blah, and I'm kind of feeling like shit at the moment. Can we talk about it?" Or just something like that. And this is mentioning we have no diplomas or whatever in psychology or whatever. we're just two guys who make music. We're not shrinks, but we want to help. We've been through stuff. Probably not the same stuff as other people. Probably about, you know, everyone goes through different stuff. We just want to help. And we also want to help by exposing what other artists have been through.
We want to help, and we want to, get as much people like to this part of this project, and just make it something to be remembered as a really safe space. Number one,
safe space,
and second of all, like a place where you can just share your creativity, your ways you've coped with your mental health, and if you wanna, and this place can be a way to communicate with other people who are part of this project.
Exactly. So it's like-minded people on one community.
Yeah.
So on that note, we will leave it here. Thank you for tuning in for episode 0, and we are excited to have you watch episode 1, who will be with our next guest artist.